I'm going to say that again. This is Power Pantaloons, and I'm Tanya, your holistic cancer wellness specialist. And today on the show, we have Holly Brown. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am super excited to have you. I want you to tell everybody what you do and how
Sure.
you support cancer survivors.
Sure. I am a licensed esthetician and I'm what's called oncology certified. So that means that I've been specifically trained how to treat skin that's been affected by side effects from cancer treatment. So, in other words, like burns are very well known for radiation. We also see a lot of hives and rashes from chemotherapy, and people have scars and scar tissue so we're trained as licensed professionals to treat the different side effects. So about 8 years ago, I founded a nonprofit, and we're called Looking and Failing Fab, and we specialize in treating skin side effects from cancer treatment. So we have a number of different programs. Our most popular program is called the Wellness Program, and people can apply to that and have a medical release form filled out, and that entitles them to 5 free treatments of skincare and or massage. They can break it up however they want. And then we also give them a full size set of 4 products for their home care routine. So it's the craziest thing when somebody tells me that they are being treated for cancer, but their doctor gave them a product that has cancer causing ingredients in it. I mean, it's simple when it's said that way, but apparently it's not so simply understood. So,
It's not. It
yes,
really is not. And this is something near and dear to my heart. Obviously, as a survivor, I care about this, but having some skin issues when I did go through cancer, and then coming out of that and looking at products on the market and going, I'm making my own soap and my own body butter. And so now I don't have to
there
do
you
that
go.
since I found you.
There
I,
you go.
a tremendous. So is this a nationwide program or is it regional?
So yep, so we're based in Massachusetts. That's where we started. So we have 4 locations in Massachusetts, but we found that we feel like as we grow, the services should be available to everybody who needs them. And so unfortunately, skin issues aren't talked about. I don't know why. It's very prominent, and it's just something that's always swept under the rug. So we're trying to bring light to it, and in doing so, trying to contract with people across the country that are licensed professionals and can be trained so that they can become facilities where people, if they see our logo, will know that they're safe spots to go to be able to receive a treatment. So we currently have locations in Rhode Island, Arizona, California, and Illinois. So, and in the middle of April, I'll be going to Nebraska to train some people. So, um,
Fantastic.
yeah, so we're excited, and we love partnering with other professionals that are passionate and want to give back. And so we're growing like crazy. So hopefully everybody will be able to get the services if they need them.
That's tremendous. And it's not just skincare as a side effect that isn't talked about. It's unilaterally all of the side effects that come with being a survivor, sexual dysfunction, poopsidents. That's what I
Mhm.
call them. Uh, I lost my teeth, and, and these are just some of the. I mean, lymphedema. That's talked about a little bit, but for the most
Right.
part, and that is a not exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. For the most part, the side effects really aren't talked about. You're
Right.
given your little release form with teeny words like this big. The doctor doesn't even tell you what the side effects could be. I I got the impression that they don't really have the time to go through that exhaustive list. They don't. There hasn't been a lot of investigation into it, and I think part of that is because they're focused on healing the individual, but also um, people weren't living that long after the cancer diagnosis, and now people are living longer because it's early detection is happening. So they're now starting to do studies on some of the unusual side effects that survivors are living with, sometimes in silence, which is part of the whole reason that I do this, is so that we could talk about some of the side effects that affect your life after cancer, right? Because that's a thing now, and it's a beautiful
Right.
thing. And in in just a month, I will be celebrating my 17th cancerversary. So, and I'm talking to survivors all the time who are decades out from their first diagnosis. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
had a lady tell me in a presentation, well, no wonder why I've had itchy boobs for 8 years. Like, because we say that your skin is forever compromised. It's changed. It's like it's very well known fact that people, when their hair grows back, it's often different than how it
yeah,
was. And
can
so
confirm.
yeah, yeah. So it's the same with the skin. And the thing that drives me crazy is that the skin is the largest organ of the body. So, like, why don't doctors know about it? Like, why aren't they like, if you know what I mean? They, if you had something wrong with your heart and it was palpitating, you would think, oh my God, maybe I should go to the doctor. But nobody ever goes, wow, look at my skin. Like, this is an issue. Like, it affects your whole body and your whole well-being. It even like has such important roles. Like, that's how we feel things. And, we have pain and touch, and melanin is protected by our skin. Our bones and insides are protected by our skin. So it really needs, in this country, we put skincare treatments as like a luxury, but in fact, it's a necessity. And a lot of other countries put emphasis on the fact that it's a necessity, but here we just don't.
Well, I mean, there's a lot I can say about the medical system here in the
Oh,
United
true.
States. There's a lot of overhaul that should happen. And the point I heard you make is that, well, maybe it's not the point you were trying to make, but I think it should be the point. So like you go to the dermatologist for your skin issues, and the dermatologist is going to focus just on your skin issues, and they're not necessarily going to know that these skin issues derive from radiation chemotherapy, because there isn't good communication between the providers,
Right,
and the patient doesn't always know, right? Like, I have itchy skin, and not necessarily knowing that that might actually be a side effect from your cancer journey,
right. And then
because
even
it's not talked about.
dermatologists, yeah, even dermatologists, you go to them and they still give you Aquaphor, they give you that, like, they're still not educated in the products and how, like, I can't even tell you how many people say to me, like, well, I spent $500 at the Clinique counter. I'm like, well, I'd go back to the Clinique counter and get you $500 back because you're poisoning yourself. Like, it's just so crazy to me how unregulated the skincare industry is, and that the government allows, like,
That
I
that's
mean,
that's it right there. The government
right.
allows.
Right. And so, like, I know there's groups constantly, trying on Capitol Hill to change the laws, but it's just not an important focus when it should be. Because now that somebody is going through a major battle in their life, like, having, I tell people, like, have you ever had a rash so bad that when you bent down to pick up a piece of paper, it split and started oozing? Like, that's terrible. Nobody should experience that. And it's just, I have multiple sclerosis. I've had it for 23 years, and I take a form of chemotherapy, and I've experienced skin issues from that. And that's kind of how the whole thing started when I went to my doctor and told him, he like looked at me like, "Oh, you're an esthetician." And I was like, "Yeah." And I had just became an esthetician, so I didn't know anything. And I'm like, and I went for the training and my eyes opened up and I'm like, this should not be a thing. Like, and I know when wigs first came out years and years ago, people were like, hey, people are fighting for their lives. They're not going to care about their hair. And now we see how prevalent, I mean, that was like years and years ago, but now we
We
see how
care.
prevalent wigs are and how acceptable they are. Like, well, now let's concentrate on the skin. Like, it's important. It affects people's
Yeah.
I mean, I know people that have told me that they know people who wouldn't leave their house because they've had such bad skin rashes. Or I have one client who told me it felt like 1,000 bees was stinging her face. And the medicine was keeping her alive, but she was going to go off it because she couldn't take it. And so, like, we have solutions that we can help, and we're offering them at no cost. And still, some medical providers like shut us down. It's crazy.
I, lack of education again with the medical. They're only allowed to talk about certain things, the standard of care, surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. You start talking about something, Western medicine, they can't hear it. They're not allowed legally to talk about it. So they're
Mhm.
they're going to do the ostrich thing. And it it's frustrating.
It is
It's
frustrating.
super frustrating.
And I
There
think I
are
had mentioned to you before that my husband has some basal cell on his ear, and he's going to have Mohs surgery. And so what they do is they scrape the layers until they get a layer that's clean. And they told him afterwards to help it heal, use they told him to use like Aquaphor, or to use um what is it that I'm thinking of?
Vaseline.
Any Vaseline, right. And so it's like, I said to my husband, ask the doctor, like, why would you bother scraping all that off and then give me a product to put on it that has cancer causing ingredients in it? Like, how does that make any sense? And so he asked the doctor, and the doctor laughed. I said, because he had no idea what you're talking about. Like, it's just
No,
so like,
no.
it's common sense, you know what I mean? It's just common sense is not so common anymore.
There are thousands of chemicals that are allowed to be put into our cosmetics here in the US that are not allowed over in Europe. The European Union, absolutely thousands of chemicals.
Yep. 300 chemicals are banned in the US compared to, I think, 1,200 in Europe.
Yeah, like
It's crazy.
the number is ridiculous,
Hmm.
and you would be absolutely horrified if you knew what some of those long words were
Yeah.
on the ingredients. All the parabens. Let's talk about parabens for a second. I
Parabens
just
were known to be found in breast cancer tumors. So there was a doctor that did a test and found it, and they presented it to the FDA, and the FDA agreed to investigate it. And upon their conclusion, although they found that women generally had a higher percentage of parabens in their bodies, they couldn't distinguish between women who had cancer and women who didn't, a significant difference. So they felt, okay, we'll leave it on the market. The other thing is that because a person has a high percentage of parabens in their body, they couldn't 100% guarantee people that they would develop cancer, so they left it on the market. Like, hello, if one
I
person develops cancer, isn't that enough?
I I apparently not. Uh,
Apparently not.
apparently not. I mean, there's formaldehyde in preservatives.
And nowadays what they're doing is because so many people are aware, and there's so much buzz about like parabens and stuff. So they're taking the parabens out and they're putting iron urea in there, which releases formaldehyde. So they're poisoning people more than if they just left the parabens in there, but they know people won't buy the product because they know parabens.
Well, we're just gonna have to keep on top of it
I
until they
crazy.
change the laws to actually take out the stuff that causes cancer.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And there's so much beneficial things. I know you and I had kind of talked about it, but like essential oils, herbs that come like directly from the earth that have been around for thousands and thousands of years that have so much healing properties that like it's not that they can't find other things to use. We have other things to use at our
They can't
disposal.
patent it.
Right.
That's the problem. They
Hmm.
can't patent it. Chinese medicine wouldn't still be a thing if
Right.
it wasn't working.
Right.
It clearly works, but you cannot put a patent on the herb.
Right.
You can only put a patent on the chemical creation that you make from the formula, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
from that specific herb. I'm saying that wrong, but you all understand what my point.
Yeah,
I,
even like fragrance, like if a product has fragrance in it, that means legally in the US it can contain up to 100 additional chemicals. But the FDA only requires them to put fragrance because they consider it a trade secret. Hello?
yes, proprietary fragrance.
And
Yes,
scent-free products does not mean that it doesn't contain fragrance,
correct.
which is like everybody goes, "Oh, I buy everything scent-free." I'm like,
Doesn't mean anything.
I know.
Just like all natural doesn't mean anything.
That's right. And not only that, but there are things that are natural, like poison ivy's natural. We don't want to put that on our skin.
That was the next point I was going to make. I wasn't going to use poison ivy. I was going to use nightshade or something like that, right? But
Yeah,
like exactly, there are natural things that you don't want to put in your body.
right.
Crude oil,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
natural. You don't want to put it in your body. Nobody
Right.
wants to eat rocks. So the marketing, the way that they're allowed to market, the loosely defined terms all make it challenging as a consumer to find things that are safe for consumption
Hmm.
or to put on
It
your body, which is consumption because, as you said earlier, it's the largest organ
it
and
absorbs, right.
it absorbs everything.
And the other crazy thing is that the FDA does not require an expiration date on the product. So there are some things out there that we don't know when it expires. And then they only contain the full ingredient list on the product or on a leaflet contained in the packaging of the product. So if you go to like a company's website and it says like active ingredients or key ingredients, it's not the full ingredient list.
That's fun. That's absolutely fun.
I'm full of them.
I didn't know that. Um,
I'm full of them.
well, right, as an esthetician, as I can't even say it, esthetician. I'm not going to be able to say it.
Esthetician. It's
That's it.
okay.
The partial in my mouth is causing my tongue to not function correctly on that word. Uh,
Plus I've just learned so much going along. Like if I saw myself 10 years ago like I am now, I'd be like, that's not me.
yeah, yeah. I it really is kind of overwhelming,
Hmm.
especially if you're going through a diagnosis, right? Like, and you're trying to figure out first of all, your blood work, your doctors, your radiation schedule, your chemotherapy schedule, which doctor you're seeing when. Are you too nauseous to eat? Do you have the strength to drive? On top of all of that, any and all of the side effects that can come along with the fact that you're a cancer survivor, and now you have to get rid of the toxins in your house from your skincare to your body products to your cleaning products
Hmm.
to everything. And then you start thinking about, all right, well, what chemicals are in my wallpaper and in my furniture and in my bedding
In your
and
clothes.
in my clothes? And then you start to go down a rabbit hole.
But that's
And
why I tell people like we don't not drive our car because we could get in a car accident. But you just do everything in moderation. We do the best that we can. So, I tell people when I do presentations, like, don't go home and throw everything in your house out. Like, that's not the answer. But when something empties, make a better choice. That's all we can ask. Like, we just do improving. We go along a little bit at a time. And so, if you're currently using Dove soap, wait till that empties and go and buy something that's a little bit better. So we just do what we can, but the more education we have, the more proactive we can be. And so that's the goal. Make small changes as you go along. Don't be radical and like throw everything out at once.
I, I Yeah, a small incremental changes is absolutely the way to go. It's the
Yeah,
only way to go, honestly.
right.
It's the
Yeah,
only
because
way
it
that
is
you're going to
overwhelming.
sustain. Right, exactly. You don't want to overwhelm yourself because you're
No.
already overwhelmed. You want to go a little bit at a time. Yeah, absolutely.
I do have one funny story though. This I was in the supermarket and this lady was like, "Holly, Holly," yelling at me. So she came down, she's like, "Oh, I was in one of your presentations." She's like, "I gotta tell you a story." So I said, "Okay." She goes, "Well, I went for a pap smear, and when the doctor left the room, I picked up the the serum that they use, and she said the first thing listed on it was parabens." So I was like, "Oh." So she goes, when the doctor came back in, I like read him the riot act. I told him, don't ever use that stuff with me again. And I'm like, you didn't give him my name, did you? And she's like, no, no, no. I'm like, oh God, thank God, like I'll be having these people.
That didn't even occur to me.
But even like if you look at like suppositories full of parabens and you're sticking that right inside you.
That never even occurred to me. It's
Yep.
absolutely horrifying.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
It is. It really is. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of products you have?
Yeah, we work with three skincare companies and the products that we use, we have a direct relationship with the company. So they support us 100% and they help us with when we need products and whatnot. So one company is called Analatan, and so the U.S. distributor is actually in Massachusetts, and somebody who's been an esthetician for a long time in the business. And so the products are actually made in Israel, which is great because they're held of much higher standard, and they're very strict in their guidelines for products. So we're confident in the type of products, but we did make a list of all the ingredients we wanted in a product and ingredients we didn't want. And we shared that with the chemist, and she formulated products under those guidelines. And so use um a lot of their product line. And we also use a company called Hale and Hush, and they were originally formulated for people on active treatment. They have since expanded and done other things, but they're based in Arizona and they're very good to us as well. And then we use a company called Neogenesis that is in California, and they use molecules from donated stem cells, and they make products, and we've actually done a lot of studies with them where we pre-treat people prior to radiation and see them through all the way through up until a month post radiation. We've seen significant results. So we had a gentleman with tonsil cancer that we had a product he could put in his mouth and never needed a feeding tube, never stopped tasting. And it was just so successful. And he was also a singer, and he was able to start singing again like 2 months after the data diagnosis. So that was like huge, huge,
Amazing.
a huge breakthrough for us. So we have that available. And if you go to our website, which is www.lookfeelfab.org, you can find out about our programs, and majority of our programs are at no cost. So like the radiation prevention program is virtual and it's at no cost. So the company donates the products to us, and then we just meet like for 15 minutes once a week via Zoom, and everything's virtual just to evaluate the skin.
That is tremendously amazing.
Yeah,
And I will absolutely make sure that I put your contact information
awesome.
in the show notes so that people can find you because this platform is to support individuals that are going through a cancer journey. Earlier, you mentioned that one of the things that they could get was massage. I'm assuming you mean lymphatic massage, right?
We do both. We have two practitioners on staff that are dual trained, so they are estheticians and massage therapists. And we have both of them are also trained in manual lymphatic drainage. So they both know how to do the manual lymphatic drainage. And in actuality, a lot of people don't really talk about manual lymphatic drainage. I know it's available like in some hospitals and stuff, but we've found that manual lymphatic drainage solves a lot of issues when somebody's lymphatic system is blocked or toxins are built up. The lymphatic drainage is like a miracle treatment for people and just to jumpstart their lymphatic system. So we've solved a lot of problems from people who like just don't know why they're having these terrible skin issues. And with product combined with manual lymphatic drainage, we end up with amazing results. And so we also have a manual lymphatic drainage program where people can get 5 free treatments of manual lymphatic drainage, and that's at no cost as well.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
So,
So I
anything
don't
else you
know
want to share?
everything, but if somebody's having a an issue with their skin, by all means, call me. I've learned a lot in 8 years, and like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I've seen a lot of stuff.
That's absolutely amazing, Holly. I really appreciate you coming on. Do you have any final words that you want to say? Did anything we haven't covered that you want to cover?
I don't think so. Just I love meeting new clients, and now, like I said, we're starting a contract with people all over the country. So eventually we'll have resources on our website for anybody anywhere in the country that they can go and get services from people that have been vetted by the charity and trained and that they're certified by us to safely administer a treatment. One thing that a lot of people don't know is if you've had lymph nodes removed, you have to be very careful when you get a skincare treatment or a massage, because as a licensed esthetician, I'm trained to do a form of manual lymphatic drainage, which is my face massage. And if I push lymph where you've had lymph nodes removed, it can get stuck. So you want to be make sure for a lifetime post cancer that you're always make sure you tell them your health history if they don't ask you, which they should be. And if they don't ask you, call me because then I'll call them.
Yeah, that's absolutely super important. Uh, I want I want to say one more thing. We were talking earlier about some of the weird side effects, right? So something that I noticed, and I do believe it has everything to do with radiation, right? For 5 years after I had my radiation treatment, mosquitoes would not touch me. And then miraculously one day I got bit and I was like, oh, I must not be irradiated.
Oh my God,
I,
that's interesting.
it is interesting. So you never know what the side effect could be, right?
And
Like
do you know that mosquito bites can cause lymphedema?
I did not know that.
But bug bites. That's why they tell people not to garden.
Oh, that's a gem. People should listen to that right there.
Yep.
Interesting. No, I did
Hmm.
not know that. That's kind of horrifying,
It
actually.
is a little bit. And also another really crazy thing that happens is so like when we were younger, like we didn't know the damage that the sun did to our skin. So we would
Mm,
go out with our tinfoil and our baby oil and like the redder the better. And so if you got like a really bad burn back then and then you're radiated in generally the same area, it can actually reignite that burn like you just got it.
I,
So that, yeah.
and I knew that. And also, if you ever had the second or third degree burns from sunburn, it increases your chances to get skin cancer. So
Mhm. So doesn't having a history of cancer increases your chance 8 times more to develop skin cancer.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Well, after 5 years, they tell you that you're back at the normal percentile, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I looked at what that is according to the American Cancer Society. The current statistic is 1 in 2, and I was like, well, that's a shitty statistic.
Yeah,
So, like, how is that better? How is that better? When I was
right.
originally diagnosed, the statistic was 1 in 3. It's not going in the correct direction, guys. It's not. So, but there are advancements. There really are.
That's one thing that people always ask me, like, how can you do that? It must be so depressing. And I'm like, in actuality, it gives me so much hope. Like, there are people that live years. Like my aunt lived with metastasized brain cancer for 17 years. So like they're like
Yeah,
to be honest with you, I've been doing this 8 years. I probably had 10 or less people that have passed away. Like if anything, it shows me that there are advances and there's always something coming out down the pike. And so there's always, especially where we like, I'm fortunate to be in Boston. We have a lot of great hospitals here you know, we have a lot of advancements with research and stuff like that. So I literally know people who like one day maybe like you know, there's no cure. And then the next day they come out with an experimental treatment that now all of a sudden their cancer has stopped. So, you know, there's always something coming.
yeah, there really is. The FDA just I think they just approved some vibrational basically sound to destroy mass tumor
Wow.
mass, and so it's basically it's sort of like a laser, but it's sound waves,
Wow.
and yeah, I think that that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that is.
Absolutely fantastic. All right, fantastic. Thank you, Holly. I will put your
Thank
show
you.
notes in the YouTube, and I'll try to
Okay.
go through Facebook and post it wherever I post this, but there's no guarantee on that.
And you're gonna send it to me too, so I can share it and stuff.
Absolutely. All right.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. I
thank
could
you,
talk to
everybody.
you for hours, so
I
anytime you
know.
want me to come back, I'm happy to.
Absolutely.
Thank
So,
you.
Cancer Warriors, you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go get your routine screenings, and
Absolutely.
based on what your doctor tells you is appropriate for your age, your gender, and your family history. Until next time.